Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidates interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Barbara Arnold, and I would like to introduce Matt Tramel, running for Alder from District 16. Matt, as we begin, please tell our viewers a bit about how your educational, vocational, and civic experience has prepared you for the position and why you decided to run for Alder from District 16.
Sure. Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself. My just a little bio and background. My wife and I live in the Glendale neighborhood. Heather is a nurse practitioner at UW Health University Hospital. My background, and I think part of what qualifies me, is I've worked about 15 years combined at 2 real estate companies, and then more recently, about 5 years at an industry trade association. But currently, I'm building a marketing communications small business called Tiny Mighty Communications. I really truly believe that's a combination of my lived experience and my professional experience that give me a unique perspective on how to get things done. I'm a leader that brings pragmatic, solutions-oriented approaches to the issues. And a big part of me and what I am is someone who comes from a compassionate, hardworking family of public school teachers and healthcare workers. And from them, I've learned a pretty effective approach, I think, which is to listen first and solve problems second. So I know that I can work with all voices on the Common Council to advance a pro-growth and pro-people policy approach. And given my experience, I'm a communications leader who's led teams and organizations to get things done.
Thank you, Matt. What issue or issues have you identified as being of primary concern to the residents of District 16, and how would you approach tackling them?
Sure. Well, in District 16, which is a vibrant, welcoming place to live, work, and play, we're facing some of the same issues that are happening all across Madison. And 2 important ones that I'm particularly focused on are pro-growth policies that create well-paying jobs and support public health and safety, but at the same time would improve the quality of life for all of my constituents. So a couple examples that I'm particularly focused on are the bus rapid transit plan that's going to be in the planning stages for the next 2 years, and making sure that includes East Madison. Unfortunately, it currently doesn't. And the other, I think, thing that is really affecting all of our lives right now is the pandemic. And I want to work hard to ensure that the city is doing everything that it can do to make sure that the COVID vaccine is effectively and equitably administered to all constituents. So, I'll be listening to all of my constituents, making sure to address the issues in their everyday lives. And importantly, I intend to make sure that the issues of District 16 are a priority on the Common Council.
Great. Thank you, Matt. There will be an advisory referendum on the ballot in April about a number of modifications to the Common Council, including changing the number of members, making it full-time, and changing the term of office. Which of the ideas being advanced do you embrace, and why or why not?
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm not very supportive of any of them. First off, I'm trying to earn the opportunity to be a part-time citizen alder, which I believe is the correct approach. I'm in the process of building a small business, and while I bring that experience to the council, and I think that would be a really important background to have in terms of bringing people to the table and getting things done. That's my passion right now. So I think if you essentially have the members of the Common Council down to around 10, I believe, from my perspective, that basically just makes all the districts bigger and makes the voices of individuals within the existing districts essentially smaller. I'm not in favor of that approach. And I also don't think that that's necessarily a proper expenditure given the amount of salary and benefits that they're talking about making those for those positions.
Right. Thank you. Homelessness, evictions, and lack of affordable housing are vexing problems for Madison that seem to have been exacerbated in the time of COVID-19. What ideas would you advance or support to help solve these problems?
That's a great question. Today we see that the proposed new men's shelter near East Town Mall is advancing, which I believe is a good solution for the near term, assuming the deal can get done. I think it's unique in that it's a large facility that could be expanded, and that it's close to public transportation, which I think is obviously really important. So I'm very supportive of that plan, but we need to keep working. Homelessness is an ongoing battle that's not going to be won until every single person has shelter. And unfortunately, the issue is even more acute due to the job losses from the pandemic. So from my perspective, we should be taking a proactive approach within every district to mobilize every nonprofit and state and federal resource that can help alleviate the problem, and whether that's funding for new and better transition housing options or mental health services, which are often the root of the issue. But in our own communities, we need a sustained conversation and activism that moves towards solutions rather than marginalizing these unfortunate souls. In terms of affordable housing, it's really important to recognize that is the critical path to stability for every single citizen. So while we know that affordable housing continues to be a challenge, it's one that we need to have to continue to work on, and we need to leverage every available resource. And so I really think that the city can have a devoted staff member, in effect, a affordable housing ombudsman that could advocate more openly and effectively with affordable housing stakeholders in the community, and particularly local nonprofits and other providers. Again, with that approach, I think we could leverage more of the resources that are out there and available to us, particularly within the incoming Biden administration. And I think that can make affordable housing efforts even more effective.
All right, good. Thank you. With the selection of a new police chief and the creation of a community oversight board, there is a lot of attention focused on policing and criminal justice, both from the perspective of racial equity in law enforcement and the concern of many citizens that, in fact, crime, especially car thefts and home burglaries, is increasing, and that police response is inadequate. How would you deal with these major concerns?
Well, we know that the current situation is untenable, and we need to think really proactively about how the council fits into this process. I would be listening to the concerns of my constituents and ensuring that their issues are being addressed, by any potential policing reforms. The city council can pursue better policing solutions and make itself a focal point for facilitating that change. From my perspective, the alders represent the citizens of Madison, and they bring on the ground insights. So they really should be the kind of primary liaison between the constituents, the PCOB, and the independent police monitor and the new police chief. So to the extent that we're bringing all stakeholders together to make concrete policy changes that can happen quickly, they have to provide transparency and of course, promote community trust. So what policies? Well, there's some widely discussed policies that I think would be quite helpful. Banning chokeholds for sure, requiring de-escalation training, and requiring comprehensive incident reporting come to mind. Also, we should be looking at successful programs in other cities, like Newark, actually, which instituted significant police reforms, including anti-bias training, new use of force policies, community relations programming. So all of those things are helping to kind of curb crime and violence in those communities. These are common sense things that we need to do, and that the Common Council again has to make sure that we're addressing the legitimate concerns regarding policing, but while also ensuring that that we're keeping our community safe.
Right. Thank you, Matt. You've alluded to some of the next question, but this is a little more in depth. Madison businesses of all kinds have been severely stressed during the past year. What, if anything, would you propose to support business revitalization?
Yeah, of course. Day to day, it's really been a difficult time over the past 8 months, and we know there's going to be a difficult time really for the next few months. I think the simple reality is that the economic health and public confidence will not be fully restored until the vaccine is equitably distributed. So we need a strong coalition across Dane County and across the city to make sure that vaccines are being effectively delivered. And I think alders can play a key role in that process. And in the meantime, we need to continue current health measures like the mask mandate, which keeps businesses and jobs open as safely as possible. Specifically on small businesses, we need to find as many ways possible on the council to reduce friction in any of the business-related approval processes and licensing processes that they're going through, particularly as they are being asked to change on a dime, operating procedures that they've had for years in many cases. And we need to be, I think, establishing a reopening Madison kind of acceleration plan that promotes small businesses, promotes spending in their businesses, and that helps drive demand as soon as practical and as soon as health conditions allow. So I think, one other thing that's kind of seems to be out there is the difficulty getting PPP loans. So, adjusting to the COVID related restrictions has been very hard on these businesses. So to the extent that we're able to, streamline any of the processes for them to get those loans, get that money to their employees, keep them operating to the maximum extent that they can safely, is really critically important, and it has to happen as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Matt. As we conclude, what would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview?
Well, first off, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I'm running for alder to help ensure that the 16th district is a vibrant, growing, inclusive community on Madison's east side, and that our issues and our needs are a priority on the Common Council. I'll go back to something I said at the top. I believe in a simple strategy, and that's to listen first and then solve problems second. So, it's our community together, and we need to focus on pro-growth and importantly, pro-people policies that support a strong economy and a high quality of life in Madison and in all of our districts. And unfortunately, that's even more important in these times of great needs. So, again, there's lots of work to be done. I'm excited about it. I think there's a really, really bright path ahead of us as we get through the next few months safely. But the reality is that we all share this community together, and the path for improving it always lies within each of us. So I hope to have the opportunity to lead on that effort.
I want to thank Matt Tramel for speaking with us, and the viewing audience for taking the time to know your candidates. As with every election, please vote. The spring primary is Tuesday, February 16th, and the general election, April 6th. On behalf of Madison City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, I thank you all for joining us.